Hi guys, and welcome to another pick-a-card reading. The topic for this one is going to be what breakthroughs and developments are coming in this connection. There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the fairy quartz. Group 2 is the amethyst. And group 3 is the obsidian. There are timestamps in the description box if you want to jump ahead, and I'll see everyone in a minute for group 1. Hi group 1. You chose the fairy quartz. So let's see what breakthroughs and developments are coming in this connection. Okay, we've got Nemetona, serenity, meditation, solitude. Persephone, introspection, limbo. And Danu, spiritual learning and ascension. So it feels like there might be a period of stillness or a continuing period of stillness between you and this individual. But the breakthrough happens where it almost feels like you are able to detach in some kind of way from an energy of almost like obsessing over sort of like what's going to happen next, when are they going to take some kind of action, when are they going to say something, if you're in no contact, like when are they going to break the silence. It's almost like you settle into this energy of being very much at peace with where things are in the connection, but this isn't something that just comes purely from like your ability to sort of transcend the way you'd been energetically relating to this person or this circumstance before, but this, it feels like, is something that is deeply reflective of something within this person that substantially shifts as far as how they are relating to you and to this connection. So this is somebody, it feels like, that within themselves they become a lot more comfortable in kind of honoring a pull towards you, but at the same point in time feeling within themselves that they aren't quite ready to sort of align with you completely, meet you on the level of what they feel like you deserve, you're worthy of, or maybe what you've expressed to them outwardly is kind of like that you're looking for in this situation. So this person might have like taken a step back, or they're kind of like deliberately not giving a whole lot into this connection at this point. Maybe like brief interactions, sort of like situations, experiences with them that again might leave you sort of questioning. It may be where they're just trying to keep things very just kind of like platonic, very light, very easy between the two of you, and that in the past might have created something where they were able to pick up on like an energy of disappointment, or even kind of like overthinking on your part. It's like the two of you maybe were really mirroring in this energy, sort of like feeling this intense pull towards one another, but almost like not in sync or in alignment with one another in terms of like big steps forward or small steps forward. It was like someone would want to take a big step, then the other person hesitated, and vice versa. It feels like this connection was almost like clumsy at one particular point in time. And so there's been a need to kind of like settle into this energy of like, okay, we need to regroup, we need to go inside, we need to kind of like think about things, feel into things, kind of like shift gears, maybe pull back in terms of like the intensity, frequency, or nature of interactions with one another. And so the biggest kind of like evolution in this connection is you feeling very at peace with kind of this person's approach to things. Not that you're giving up or you're kind of like settling for bare minimum, but there's something with this kind of like Persephone, this underworld sort of energy. Like you're able to kind of at the shadow level, like the maybe even kind of like the subconscious level, you and this person are connected in terms of that light and shadow energy. It feels like there's the probability of like a very beautiful or even like a very intense kind of soul connection between the two of you. So in addition to your kind of like out in the open 3D material world communications and interactions and experiences in those more like subtle liminal spaces, the higher self, and also kind of the internal self, the shadow self, in terms of those inner depths in some sort of way. There's also a connection between the two of you. And so it is in that kind of like shadowscape that you and this person come to this place of understanding almost that time is your friend in this circumstance. That you're both like right exactly where you need to be in this circumstance. And it's almost like you're able to kind of pick up or perceive that from this person's end, not like they're dropping the connection or ditching you or totally just like throwing in the towel in this situation, but there's almost the sense of this person kind of like honoring where it is that they are at in their life. And this doesn't have to do with anything in the material world, like somebody that's like, oh, I'm too busy, I got a lot on my plate, I don't know what I want. But it almost feels like something that the emotions here are very intense. The energetic kind of experience with one another, it feels like it really affects this person very profoundly and in a very kind of unusual sort of way, different from what they were used to, different from what they were looking for, what they were seeking, especially if this is someone that was single for a period of time. The intensity of like learning to connect with another person again, kind of making space in that internal realm where they've kind of like cuddled up with their own loneliness or their own like solitude, making space for another person. It's easier said than done. And so it feels like that's kind of what this person is sort of experiencing at this particular point in time, is just kind of like wanting to do right by you, wanting to kind of have like a good experience here in this situation, but needing to sort of honor that space of having to kind of stretch beyond their limits or become accustomed to, kind of like not just having material experiences with another person, but almost this kind of like energetic space of kind of rearranging things within, kind of like compartmentalizing any sort of like baggage, pessimism, wounding from like previous relationships they'd been in, previous disappointments, and kind of like putting that away elsewhere so that it's not kind of joining the interactions that they have with you as a fresh experience, as something that can lead to kind of something like a development beyond just kind of like solitary, casual sort of energy. And so this is somebody, it feels like, that is kind of repositioning themselves in that sort of shadow space. They do think about this connection a lot. There is a lot happening within them in this kind of period of stillness or period of silence. And it feels like you're going to reach a place within where you're able to kind of perceive that or be at peace with that in some sort of way. And that may kind of manifest in terms of like if you're watching a lot of tarot readings about sort of like what are they thinking, what are they doing, because you're not getting a whole lot of answers from them, that may be something where you're kind of just, you're not as sort of frantic about that. It's not something that is kind of like, I need to know, I need answers. If you're having like interactions with them in the material world, there won't be as much like reading into things. It's kind of just you're taking it at face value and then able to kind of like connect with this person and then just sort of transition back into like other things that you have going on in your life. All of that definitely signals this kind of like development in this connection in terms of, again, this kind of like internal understanding with one another, that there's mutual interest, that there's mutual curiosity about what happens next, but there's almost this kind of like need to sort of have this time and space to kind of like reposition inside energetically, emotionally, to get ready to kind of like have, it feels like, a deeper experience with one another materially that might even sort of change kind of like wounding or preconceived notions of what like love, partnership, romance can look like based on like past experiences versus what the two of you, like with that spiritual learning and ascension, like what you can definitely have moving forward with one another, that it feels like will contradict a lot of sort of the beliefs, the experiences, the ideas from past people and past circumstances. And so this is something that it feels like it's becoming comfortable with that positioning within to kind of like get ready to have those different sorts of experiences experiences so that it can kind of extract, like what you create with one another, what you have with one another moving forward, extracts kind of those embedded beliefs, those wounded experiences that may, have been like long past, but still hold some kind of energy in a predominant way, or kind of are blocks in a sense in the subconscious, maybe causing this person to be a bit hesitant. Maybe you're a bit hesitant, based on your experiences. So it's almost kind of like this silent trust is sort of built between the two of you in this kind of subtle space, in this kind of shadow space within, that allows the two of you, to have this kind of honoring, it feels like, of this period of stillness, of this period of quiet, with the understanding that it's almost like the deep inhalation before speaking. So let's get some message cards from this person's higher self and see what they want you to know right now. Okay, we have divine source sending signs, guiding each twin. We both see the signs. Yeah, so this person, it feels like, is very tapped in and tuned in to the fact that this is not an ordinary love. This is not an ordinary connection. What they feel for you is very intense emotionally, but there's also this kind of like energetic component. It's almost like they feel these kind of rewards or these sort of signals from the universe that come through when they honor that element of kind of like hesitation, or sort of like they've come forth as much as they can, like up to a certain point, and needing to kind of just stop and sort of sit within the moment. When they honor that, when they actively kind of participate in that self-honoring, it feels like they get a lot of positive reinforcement in the form of signs and synchronies from the universe. This is somebody, it feels like, that as they are kind of relaxing into that, they are taking the pressure off themselves to perform in this situation, or maybe you're taking the pressure of expectation off. It is allowing this person to get more into like a flow state with this. Because of the intensity, this may feel like something that is very much outside of their element. They're used to maybe like having deep attractions to people, deep connections, but there's a sense here of almost kind of this like other energetic component, a deeper component to things between the two of you. Maybe those signs and synchronicities, or a lot of deja vu, maybe even some telepathy that's going on. That could be something that's definitely outside of this person's comfort zone. So they need time to kind of like get their bearings, to adjust themselves. It's kind of like, okay, this isn't just an opportunity to kind of like have, a very pleasing sort of like ordinary connection, but there's this whole kind of like unexplored experience that's possible with this person, that they're almost like they're having to adjust their sight, or kind of like get themselves sort of energetically ready for whatever that might involve. We also have let's manifest love. Thoughts are manifesting. Yeah, so this is definitely somebody, again, that thinks about you during a period of kind of like stillness, introspection. This is somebody that regularly revisits thoughts of you. This is somebody who is actively confronting fears. They are asking themselves, why am I hesitating in this situation? That act of like actively questioning themselves as well, that may be something that you're picking up and perceiving that can lead to this kind of experience, that breakthrough, that development of you're able to move into more of a place of calm, of acceptance and trusting, kind of like not sort of if it's meant to be, something more will happen, but this kind of calm understanding that, like, yeah, there's more to our story. There is more that is supposed to happen between the two of us. It's like you're picking up on this person kind of like relaxing into the space of honoring where they are at this particular point in time in terms of their energetic and emotional readiness to embark on something potentially very deep, very potent, something that can be very rewarding with you. It's like they're sort of getting themselves ready. They're preparing themselves for that step forward. And it feels like it's the kind of thing that sort of like internal self, that internal kind of like being at ease with how they're able to show up in this connection at this present time, not being hard on themselves, not faulting themselves, not putting additional pressure on themselves to be any other place with this than where they are at this particular point in time. That's something that is kind of like coming through to you in a way that is letting you know this person isn't like, this is the best that I can do, take it or leave it, but it's kind of like, this is where I am, and they're kind of allowing themselves and sort of nudging themselves to kind of like strengthen beyond that, expand beyond that, looking at themselves with kind of like a questioning sort of, because they feel this deep connection to you. They feel this pull towards you, but at the same point in time, this might be somebody that it's like they take steps forward and then it becomes very overwhelming. This is not somebody that's looking at that as like a red flag and like, okay, I better run for the hills. This is something where it's like they're looking at that and they're saying like, okay, what's the hesitation? What am I not seeing? What's the block here that is preventing me from like consistently sort of moving towards this person? What is kind of causing us to be sort of like slowed down or still at this particular point in time? Like they're taking accountability and ownership for that in themselves, very quietly, very privately, and it feels like it's something that you are then going to be able to sort of feel that as they come to a place of acceptance, accepting that that's where they are at about it, or even kind of finding things, that may be sort of like fears that they kind of like dismantle and realize that's just an irrational thought. That's a wound left over from a previous circumstance. That's not something that, benefits kind of like the optimal possibilities here, and so they kind of discard that and take steps forward. You're going to feel that sort of internal development or strengthening, or more of like an alertness that happens within that sort of subtle space, that subconscious within this person, that it feels like can be an indicator to you that like this connection, although it may be sort of slow or still on the surface, it is developing in kind of the subtle ways or behind the scenes. We also have, please know, above all, I love you, even when I can't express it. Yeah, so this person is feeling like all kinds of emotions for you, and these may be things that, this is somebody it feels like that is at a point in their life where they're not just going to like casually tell someone that they love them. This is somebody that may even be looking like to date, to marry, and so they take like a slower or a more thoughtful approach. And this is somebody it feels like that the best that they can do is kind of honor that need for stillness inside of themselves, but there's almost like they're giving themselves permission not to think like, okay, well, all hope is lost in this situation because I can't just kind of like, come towards you and just dive in head first at this point. Instead, they're sort of looking at themselves like, what is it that is sort of standing in the way of me receiving this, or me kind of like moving towards you and inviting this connection in more fully? This is somebody that it feels like is revisiting past wounds as well. They're looking at kind of like, is any of this sort of an example of like hurt people? This is somebody that's looking at past heartbreaks, and they're asking themselves, am I showing up in a way that maybe was something another person had done to me? Like they're thinking about this, and it feels like almost kind of a multifaceted or multi-layered kind of way, because this is somebody that it feels like they have and they sense that deep connection with you. If this is something that develops into love, this is somebody that almost is kind of preparing themselves in that way to not just give you like a lukewarm experience of love and to not be, kind of resistant to receiving your love, but this is somebody that wants to be very present. They want to show up fully, and so trusting their instincts at this time, it feels like, is the best way to kind of like honor future potential between the two of you. And that is something that it feels like you're going to start to feel. You're going to feel more at peace with where things are, and that can be your evidence that it's like things are slowly developing, quietly developing at this particular stage in time in more of those subtle realms before there's kind of like a big step forward materially again. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got V, N, C, R, S, A, U, Z, D, R, and O. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Amethyst. So let's see what breakthroughs or developments are coming up in this connection. we got Selene, abundance and romance. Abnoba, wilderness, wild woman, wildling. And Kali, the release of limiting beliefs, transformation. So it feels like you are in for not just one, but like a series of wild nights with this person. This is somebody that can no longer hold back in terms of their deep attraction and desire for you. This is somebody that definitely is not content with just fantasizing about intimacy. This is somebody that wants to get frisky. They want to explore things. They want to kind of like bring some of those fantasies out into the open. And it's coming through is like the wildest thing about that is that they'll call you in the morning. The wildest thing about that is that it's not just going to be something where it's kind of like, okay, we're getting freaky with one another and that's it. Like sneaky link kind of thing. This is something where it's like they want to just bring that element into the abundance that already exists between the two of you. So talking stage, developing into something more. This may even involve more kind of like exploration, experimentation in terms of intimacy with one another, letting you see kind of like a wilder side to them that doesn't often come to the surface. It may be something that definitely contradicts, with kind of their surface level personality. So they're going to get a little bit kinky. They're going to get a little bit wild. Something that is going to help you to kind of understand that it's like this person has both a light and shadow side to themselves, and this is kind of like the time where they want to see, okay, is all of this compatible with everything that it is that you're looking for? Maybe things within you that like previous lovers or previous people were not kind of like aligned enough with, or brave enough within themselves to kind of like evoke within you to kind of like have these sort of experiences with you. So it feels like this is somebody that again is kind of like, it's this energy of just sort of like wildness, but this is more than just kind of like really good sex or really kind of like risque experiences. This is something that also kind of translates into sort of like deeper or more obvious, it feels like, romantic displays and gestures for the world to see. So there's more openness kind of like behind closed doors between the two of you, but that it feels like they also want to balance that out with kind of like making something more public for people to be aware, kind of like, I claim this person, or I'm interested in this person, something that makes it not even just for kind of like other people to be aware of, but something that makes you aware of that this is somebody that doesn't just look at the situation like an act of conquest, or sort of like, okay, they've broken through your barriers, your boundaries, you've been exercising discernment, maybe you've been holding back, you haven't just kind of like let one thing lead to another, or if you have been intimate with one another, it's been kind of like tame up to this point in time. This is somebody that is like, once we cross that threshold into like more of that spicy territory, I also want that to be something that it is complemented with developments between the two of us externally, in ways in which it can be more obvious and more known to you, to other people, that it's like, yeah, this is a connection that is developing into something. This is a connection that is not just it's hot and heavy behind closed doors, but then out in the light of day, you're both just kind of like, oh no, nothing's going on, or you're sort of like, you avoid one another in that sense. Like, this is not somebody that just wants like to hook up. This is not just somebody that wants like a situationship. If it has been something very kind of like undefined up to this point in time, this can definitely be somebody that's like, I want to take things to the next level, and not just in terms of like, let's discuss what we're calling ourselves, what that's going to look like, how other people might kind of perceive that in a way, but there's also something that kind of like, it's more of an exploration, or kind of a revelation of these sort of hidden side, the spicy side to this person, that it feels like they don't usually sort of like share with other people. Like, it takes a while to kind of get to that place, or it may even just be something that like the bond between the two of you, there's enough kind of like trust or enough sort of electricity that's happening between you where this person is like, okay, this has always been something I was curious about. This is a fantasy. This is something, this might even be something that it's kind of, they've never done these things or had these experiences with other people. So you would be each other's like first in that sense. But it's something that they want to kind of align that with that energy of not just, okay, it's, you know, getting into this kind of like wild territory just between the two of us, but something that also for your situation, relatively speaking, it's a wild step forward. All of a sudden it's, you know, you're a couple. All of a sudden that status update changes on social media. All of a sudden it's kind of like, yeah, I want you to meet my family. I want you to come hang out with my friends. Maybe even somebody that's like, okay, I want to move in with one another, like that kind of a thing. So it feels like this is kind of like dramatic steps forward, both in terms of that sort of like physical intimacy between the two of you, what that looks like, you know, what that experience is, or that range of experiences or things that you you know, start again kind of like experimenting, exploring with, discussing with one another in terms of possibilities and potentials. But then there's also something that kind of evolves, it feels like, in terms of how this is sort of like seen or recognized or known by kind of a wider audience, or, you know, even just between the two of you, how things are defined. There's more of an understanding of exclusivity. There may even be more kind of like conversations, plans that are made about like long-term sort of things with one another, something that lets you know that this isn't just somebody who's kind of gonna you know, dip into this kind of deeper or more kind of spicy or kinky energy with you, and that that's all that they are, that that's all that they're wanting, but somebody that is kind of like, this is a step forward in terms of that vulnerability, in terms of you know, that sort of exposure of more of our darker side or the fantasy side within ourselves, but also to kind of bring balance with that and sort of just transform the nature of your connection overall in terms of like bigger steps forward to create more closeness or more of kind of a like a tightness between the two of you in terms of as the world perceives you, as you would be able to then like go and speak to others about this, like, this is someone I'm dating, this is someone I'm seeing, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend, you know, this is the person I'm thinking about moving in with, like that kind of thing. So it's not just in this space of like, oh well, what's gonna happen, you know, are they gonna want something more, is this just a situation where they're gonna kind of like use me for their own pleasures? This is something that, you know, this is somebody that wants to let you know, like, yeah, there's a carnal interest here, but there's also an interest in kind of like expanding things on that romantic level, on that emotional level, on that actual level between the two of you. So let's get some message cards from this person's higher self and see what they want you to know. And we have, I will see you in our dreams where our love is pure. You are this person's like dream come true. This feels like this person is eager to explore things, to express fantasies that maybe they've never dated anyone that it was like they would think would be cool with certain things, would be like curious about certain things. Maybe themselves, they weren't kind of like comfortable, you know, expressing certain things out. Other people that they dated in the past hadn't necessarily even kind of sparked that sort of curiosity within them. But with you, it's kind of like there are no limits, like nothing is sort of like taboo as far as the ways in which you can get really sort of like wild or experimental with one another. And it feels like that is even something that, you know, this may be somebody as well who with that wild and experimental energy is kind of like, yeah, we've only been seeing each other for like a short amount of time, but I want you to move in with me. You know, I want us to have like titles attached to this, you know, something that may feel kind of like a big step forward, but it feels like it's a way in which this person kind of like opens their life up to you in a certain manner that kind of like lets you know they're not just looking for like deep or risque or intense like sexual experiences, that's like not the only thing that they want, but that this is somebody that wants to kind of like have a relationship with you. They want to explore more of that closeness, more of that monogamy, more of that exclusivity. We also have our energy is merging, unity is at hand, love grows stronger. Yeah, so this person has like really intense desires for you, but they want to make sure that you feel respected. They want to make sure that you understand that this is not somebody who is just, again, like looking to fulfill lust. They're not, they got a lot of lust for you, they got a lot of desires for you. This isn't somebody that is just kind of like thinking about things in a saintly fashion. This is somebody that definitely wants to get really wild with you, but at the same time, this is also somebody that is like, they want to have a connection with you where they can show you off. This is my girl, this is my guy, this is my person, where you do kind of like regular couple things with one another. This is somebody that may even be thinking about like the holidays, sort of like thinking ahead, planning things, wanting to bring you home for the holidays, thinking about kind of like the year as it's wrapping up. These are all timeless readings on my channel, so whenever you find these messages, if they resonate, just like take that accordingly. But this is something where they're thinking about kind of like, okay, what is the future? What is kind of like the long-term plan going to look like between the two of us as I am taking steps forward in my life, or time is passing? This is somebody that, as they want to deepen this kind of like intimate bond between the two of you, this is something that they also want to create more of that understanding, so that it's not just a temporary experience, so that you feel comfortable and free to kind of like open up, allow aspects of yourself that haven't necessarily been brought to the surface by other people, to kind of like let that be unleashed, let that come out in a way. And this person sort of feels like more than just kind of like playing upon those energies of carnal desire in order to accomplish that. There also needs to be some kind of like complementary energy of like, if we are exploring things in this capacity, I want there to be a trust and an understanding between the two of us, that this is something that I would only kind of like do these things with someone I'm in a very serious commitment with. I would only want to explore these things with somebody that I saw long-term potential with. This is somebody that's not in the time in their life where they're kind of just like, they're looking to get sort of notches in their belt, or kind of like get me on people's walls or discernment just to say that they did that, just to have that like trophy on the wall, that kind of thing. This is something that whatever this person wants to explore more, maybe it's just being intimate for the first time. That can be kind of like an interpretation of this this energy of like these wild nights with you. It could just be they want to have sex, they want to make out, they want to progress forward beyond like conversations. And in their mind, it's like that would be a big step forward. Like as they are imagining things, it's kind of like, yeah, that would be really intense. That'd be really good. It'd be really satisfying. But I don't just want this to be the sort of circumstance where it's like, hey, we go there and then all it becomes is just we're hooking up. This is somebody, that wants to hook up with you, but also wants a relationship. We also have look beyond illusions, see beyond false perceptions. Things are not what they seem. Yeah, so again, this is somebody that, unlike people you may have dealt with previously, or for some of you, you've got like multiple people that you're dealing with who are only looking for sex, or only looking for a good time. They are like commitment phobic. They're not wanting a relationship. They're wanting to like keep you in a situationship, keep you in a place of sort of not knowing what the intentions are. This person is taking a very wild approach of like, yeah, I want to provide you with that clarity. I want to make you aware that, yeah, I want to have all of this kind of like fun time with you, but at the same point in time, I also want to have very like regular couple, sort of like button up experiences where we can be out in the light of day and no one would be in any way the wiser to what is kind of like happening behind closed doors. This is somebody, it feels like that when they are with you, when they are near you, it takes a lot of kind of like self-control just to kind of hold back from like ravishing you. This is somebody that, might not really be into like public displays of affection either, like making out in public or anything like that. This could be somebody that's kind of conservative. Like to look at this person, you would think that they're just kind of like ordinary, or like a very tame person, but they got this wild side to them, and it's kind of like they want to share that with you. They want to show that off to you. They want to explore that with you in a way that doesn't kind of like usually or normally come to the surface, but they also want to kind of, you know, create that balance with you. Like, if we're going there, if we're going to explore those things, I want to make sure that there is enough like trust and comfort between the two of us where we're able to really just be ourselves, or you know, get very experimental. And the way in which they feel that that is sort of best accomplished is by also progressing things forward in terms of that understanding that they only want to experience and explore these things with you. So let's get some initials. Could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We got Z, I, S, R, O, M, N, and D. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Obsidian. So let's see what breakthroughs or developments are coming up on the horizon for you in this connection. Okay, we got Nematona, Serenity, Meditation, Solitude. Kuan Yin, Love, Compassion, Unity. And Sekhmet, Strength and Self-Awareness. So, feels like a heart-to-heart conversation is getting ready to happen. This person is very nervous to share certain things with you. Maybe this is somebody with this energy, Kuan Yin, love. They're getting ready to tell you they love you for the first time. And that is something that feels like it is not just something that they're going to throw that out there casually, but there's maybe like a whole speech planned, as far as like it's taken a while to kind of get to this point, you know, the side of their personality or efforts that they want to make that kind of conjunct with that in a way. It feels like this is a very like sensitive, emotional person, but you might have only experienced kind of like a stoic aspect of them. So this is something where it's kind of like you have successfully sort of had an effect upon this person where they're coming out of their shell. Their walls are coming down, and so again there's like this nervousness with like what they want to say, how they want to like say that, you know, kind of the implications of that, how things may change between the two of you moving forward, because it feels like when this person kind of gets to that point in connections where they're expressing emotions and feelings like that, it's not something where it's kind of like, oh, they just had a few too many drinks and then all of a sudden they're telling you they love you. You know, this is something that it's of sound mind and body. They're getting ready to like say this to you. They're getting ready to profess this to you, as a way of kind of like introducing you to the softer side within themselves. This is somebody, it feels like, that is also maybe nervous about how they say things or how they approach this heart-to-heart conversation, because there's a lot that they're feeling, there's a lot that they want to say to you, but they don't want to come across as somebody that, you know, is kind of like love bombing or that's very over the top, especially if they've been kind of like reserved as far as the ways in which they express emotions, or, you know, it's somebody who, you know, might be a person of just like few words, but what they say, like those words hold meaning. This is something where they're getting ready to like say a whole lot, and so the exact phrasing of that, it feels like, is very important to them. You may notice when you're around this person that they could definitely like tense up or appear very nervous, a very almost kind of just like chaotic sort of energy about them. And there's a sense of also wanting to provide you with like peace of mind. in terms of like referring sort of their behavior recently, or addressing outwardly kind of that vibe you might have been picking up from them, through this kind of experience of sort of like feelings that have been developing for quite some time, and to not just sort of treat this as something that's like, okay, now I'm ready to like say this, now I'm ready to have this conversation, or again, something that just kind of in a very sort of casual or unexpected way, like it just sort of slips out, but something where it's almost like they're kind of backtracking with you. The feelings that have been developing and growing, experiences you've had with one another as they've gotten to know you. This is somebody that wants to like sing your praises, but at the same point in time doesn't want to kind of like trigger anything within, like, okay, are they just going to manipulate me? This is so different from what I'm used to within this person. Kind of what's the catch? Like they're understanding or anticipating that, trying to sort of head that off at the pass in some sort of way, as far as their method of delivery, kind of like the things that they say, the way that they approach this. But it's something that it feels like it's definitely going to like warm your heart in terms of the ways in which you're going to come to understand, like, wow, this person has been like quietly developing these feelings. This person has been feeling this way for quite some time, and is now finally at the place of like empowering the actualization of what comes next after this kind of like big declaration, this big heart-to-heart conversation. They have put a lot of thought and effort into that. It feels like this is somebody that is definitely very like a thoughtful lover, as far as like when they are in romantic connections, and that's a side of them that might have been kind of like understated, or they'd held back on that in some sort of way, but you're about to kind of get an experience of that in terms of kind of like how they sort of show up and show out in this situation, with that heart-to-heart conversation, with that declaration of love. This may even be somebody that's planning, like, taking you to a romantic dinner, setting the scene, ambiance, everything that kind of is not, again, just sort of like via text they're sort of sending this, or you're kind of just hanging out and it slips out, or you're out for drinks and like, okay, it's towards the end of the night and all of a sudden they're just like gushing to you. This is somebody that it feels like they want to sort of make this experience very memorable for the two of you. Something that represents almost like unmasking, like taking down sort of like a stoic or reserved aspect of themselves, so that you're able to see like there's a softer side to this person, and there's enough kind of like admiration, trust, likability, enough chemistry between the two of you has kind of been developing very slowly, like a steady simmer, that this person is now kind of like, okay, I want to be assertive about that. It's something as well that it feels like this person wants to provide you reassurances, should you be at all kind of confused or hesitant, that this is not somebody who is passive. They may have been taking a slow approach to this situation, trying to wait until it sort of like felt right in order to take steps forward, or just not like rushing into things. But this is definitely somebody that has this like very romantic side to them, this very sweet side to them, that it feels like they're very sort of intent on letting you know that it will be kind of like it's been worth the wait with this person, but then also kind of like this would be just sort of the beginning of other kind of developments, other sort of experiences with them, in terms of that deeply romantic, deeply caring, deeply sensitive person that is a little more obscured from just sort of like casual connections or early phases of connections. This is somebody that wants to kind of like show you sort of all that they are capable of, or a little taste of that in some sort of way, so that you understand that although it may be a connection that then continues to kind of develop at sort of a slow and steady pace, that this is somebody that isn't just gonna like plateau. They're not just gonna sit on the fence forever. They're not just gonna kind of like, okay, well, this feels good, I don't feel any kind of motivation to do anything else, I'm happy, I'm comfortable, and that's all that matters. That this is somebody, it feels like, that is, they listen to their heart. They may operate in a very logical way usually, but they do take their heart into accountability and what that tells them. And their heart has been telling them, it feels like for a while, that they need to kind of express more emotions to you in the situation, that it's approaching that time, or the time is now to have that heart-to-heart conversation, to let you know, hey, I'm falling in love with you, or I have fallen in love with you, and kind of like what that then leads to, in terms of the nature of your connection. Maybe it's even just kind of like information that they give you, and you continue forth, and it's kind of like, okay, it helps you put things in perspective in a different sorts of way in terms of how they're showing up, how they're becoming very present in this, how they're kind of like introducing you to the aspect of themselves that is, not so readily accessible by casual connections or people that they meet very early on. This, again, could be somebody that, when they're getting to know someone or just around the general public, it's like they're very kind of stone-faced, they're very stoic, but there is like a softer side to this person, that it's almost like they're pulling back the curtain and sort of like inviting you in to this kind of like aspect of who they really are beyond the surface. And they've put a lot of thought into this. They're putting a lot of thought at this point in time in terms of like the right moment, the right conversation, the right words to say, so that it's not something where you're like, oh, that's wonderful, that's great, okay, now what, but it's something that they almost, for some of you, they may anticipate like that, or they're hoping kind of like the way that they say this, and it might make you cry happy tears, or just kind of melt you in some sort of way if you've been a bit hesitant, like, I don't know if this, is this person kind of like even capable of a range of emotions, is this something where they just like to hang out because I'm fun to talk to, or is anything more going to progress in this situation? It's kind of like a boost in terms of what they are showing or what they are expressing, but not something, again, like they're kind of thinking about it in terms of not making sure that that this isn't some just kind of like desperate attempt to cling. They're not trying to breadcrumb. They're not trying to like overpromise and underdeliver. This is something that it's like, okay, it's time to sort of accelerate to that next experience with one another. It's time to tell you how I feel, like how I really feel, or what I've come to understand has kind of developed as far as feelings for you, love for you inside. So let's get some message cards from this person's higher self and see what they want you to know right now. Okay, we have, there's so much I want to say to you, but my words get in the way. Yeah, so this is somebody that has been scripting that heart-to-heart conversation. They've been rehearsing, they've been thinking about it. It feels like they haven't been asking other people for advice. They want these words to be their own. They want this to come from a very pure and genuine place. There's a level of honesty that they know will help to dispel any kind of misconceptions that you may have, anything where this very kind of like stoic presentation of this person, and you might think, I don't even know if this is what I'm looking for. If this is not someone who's able to kind of be sensitive, connect on those emotional levels, then what's the point in connecting with someone who's just a statue? This is something that this person wants to let you know. There's deeper layers to them, and you have definitely awakened those deeper layers. And so the ways in which this kind of like sensual expression, the softer side of them is expressed out, that's very important to them. We also have, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I did not handle it well. So they may understand that you are kind of sensing there's like an undercurrent of kind of like tension or awkwardness between the two of you, or things haven't been like moving very quickly. They've been very vague. They might have been sort of, you were throwing down hints and kind of, throwing out the vibe as sort of like, okay, I want something more here. I'm starting to like you as kind of more than whatever, or feelings are starting to develop, and this person might have just played very nonchalant. They kind of like ignored those things, or sort of like talked around them in a way. They're very aware of that. And so part of this like heart-to-heart conversation, it also includes some kind of almost like apology in the form of, retracing their steps to these different moments in time where it's kind of like, yeah, I felt this for you for quite some time. This is the reasons why I've been holding back. These feelings have developed, but I wanted to make sure that it felt right before I just kind of like presented the key that unlocks this door between this new experience between the two of us, because I don't want to get hurt. I don't want you to get hurt. I want to make sure that the moment's right. Like, this is somebody that isn't just going to be like, I love you, and they leave it at that. This is like, in-depth conversation. This is something where they're getting ready to express themselves in a way that it feels like in and of itself is going to really surprise you and help you to see and understand there are so many more layers to this person than you have experienced, and that this is kind of just the first step forward to kind of that deeper or more softer side to them, the sensitive side to them. We also have, I always talk to, it brings me peace. So yeah, more of that energy of talking, heart-to-heart conversations. This is, again, something where they're scripting, they're rehearsing. You know, this may be something where they're kind of getting into that energy of overthinking. They're over-perfecting, trying to get it right. And so that could be creating certain delays, or again, that energy of just like tension or awkwardness, because it feels like on more than one occasion recently, it's like they've wanted to say something, but they've held back, and they have now kind of come into this place of like, okay, I need to just like make a very romantic experience. I need to kind of like set the stage. I need to make the moment just right. This is somebody that's trying to control that outcome. They're not just kind of like, when it feels right, I'm going to say that, or, you know, it's just going to come out. This is somebody that this is a big deal for them to kind of like let this side of themselves, this romantic side of them, the part that is able to like communicate emotionally in a very mature and effective way, to let you know that this is somebody that, although they may not wear their heart on their sleeve, this is somebody, you know, that has a heart. Have like a wide range of emotions. They are capable of being sensitive. So let's get some initials. Could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out that ever resonates for you. We've got F, N, H, S, I, T, M, A, I, K, and E. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.